screen. Right. Thanks for coming, guys. Last week we spoke about the 15 demo, and that went quite well, apart from a lot of fanboying about a lot of stuff that's happening in it. But that was a good way to kind of, I think it was a very way to start the Games Club off with quite a big release of the demo. The next, like 4 weeks, I think, maybe more depending on how much we have to talk about. We'll do 2 chapters and just various other mechanics and system things that are in Type-0. So today it's generally the first 2 chapters and just basic stuff like camera controls and party systems and just general stuff like that and the whole mature sense of the game. So again, thanks for joining in the chat, and just wanted to open up with what everyone thinks of having to manage like all the party members and how you feel that kind of adds to the game.
I think it kind of adds a lot of. Well, most games you can go through. Final Fantasy games you can go with just one party, but this one, if you're doing bad and you've not leveled like 10 of the 14 characters, you could end up slowing your progress through the game. So it involves you going through all the characters to level them up, and of course they will have the different kind of skill sets that can help in various situations, which I loved.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. Actually, because I haven't done a lot just yet. It doesn't really explain that too well in the first chapter. So, do you think there's like a bit of miscommunication with like a lot of people are going to take one party through the game?
Yeah, because sort of, because of course it makes you start off with Ace, so a lot of players might just stick with playing as Ace and pick like the first 3 they see on their reserve list. And then as the game goes by, you start having to deal with different things like ranged units and units that need like certain types of magic that might require you then to like swap the party around.
I did see in the tutorial that one of the lines that I remember most was level up each character evenly for to be safe. And I didn't look at any trailers apart from the one in Distant Worlds last year or any like reviews, anything whatsoever. I had zero knowledge of the game before I bought it. So I know after my first playthrough, I'll know what to expect and know which characters to use in my party. But for now, I always level up each character to the same level. So if anything does go bad or anything like that, I always have some sort of backup and I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, that's similar to what I did. I mean, I leveled up. I had one main character, which is Queen, and then I leveled up every character to like a certain level. Like, say I needed like 19 for the thing, I would make them all 20. And of course, whatever Queen would be, like 27. So I always have one strong character, and all the rest are the same strength.
I'm kind of different. I've got about 8 that I've leveled up, and the rest of them I've left for dead. It's too much to do all 14 at one time, I think, for me.
I agree.
Like a select few, which is more than 3, just in case things go horribly wrong.
Yeah.
That way, next time I play, I can use the other guys I didn't use, so it keeps panning ahead as well a bit for me.
Yeah.
It does go back to what happened with Dissidia Duodecim, if anyone remembers that game. When you do the whole prequel story, you unlock everything else, including the previous game.
Which game?
Dissidia Duodecim.
Okay. Yeah.
Where you after you did the whole prequel thing, you unlock everything, including the previous game. So you're thinking to yourself, why did I buy that game?
So with the management of party members, what's everyone's kind of go-to team then? Like, do you have a mixed kind of general trinity thing of you've got your support, your tank, and your damage, or is there like you've got your three favorite characters and you're just kind of using them?
I have my main character, which is Queen. I also use Juice because she's an amazing support for like casting Protect and Aura through Flute. And I normally use Ace because just he happens to be there on the list. But if I need a ranged character for like a certain mission, I would then change to Kater because of her range is almost the whole map. Well, not almost the whole map, but and she doesn't stop firing.
So I've got a mix of melee range support, and I tend to use for melee either 8 or Machina. Range would be Trey or Kater, and for support it would be Rem or Juice. That's my favourite 6 at the moment.
So I say it's a very cool character.
Yeah, I'm more moving towards King, Queen, 8, and what was the other one? That Machina. I'm moving towards them.
I've not touched Machina. I've not even like thought of even him as a character.
You just hated him so much that you just didn't want to touch him.
It's not even like a hatred. It's just like there's some characters that I feel like there's too many.
Yeah.
Like, especially early on, like I'm just like I can't even think about half of these. I'm like, okay, there's 6 characters, but like I've got like an eye for like a few of them. Like, oh, they're cool, and then it's like, oh, there's just those. I'm gonna push away until I can be bothered, and just forget about them.
But I think that's almost like the good thing about it, if only because it suits everybody's play style. I mean, Daryl, when he was playing through it, he really loved Jack and those sort of characters, whereas I much prefer the ranged characters. I prefer to be as far away from the action as possible and as safe as possible. But
when I go
think
back
there's something for everybody.
So when I go back to saying when I'm leveling everyone evenly, if I go to a save room or something like that, and with parties that use regularly, they'll level up, and the other characters don't really get stronger at all. So I always put them on the basic, saying if it's level 23 quest, get them everyone up to level 23 beforehand, and then go back to a save room. If anyone hasn't leveled up yet, but still fulfills the same requirement as the previous character, for example, King and Kato or something like that, I switch them around to make sure they get stronger as well.
Hello everyone, by the way.
Cool.
I can
so, yeah, I can hear. I'm a bit quiet, but I can hear. So the whole kind of party system is all well and good, but how is everyone feeling about the camera control? Well, not so much now, but when they first got their hands on it, like that was a big thing for me. Like I played the 15 demo first, and then went into Type-0, and it just hit me like this is crazy. Like, do you think that it's putting people off the game, or
I think there's a lot of misconceptions.
yeah?
I got used to the whole screen going crazy at first because when you move, it's like moving so fast. But I know a friend of mine, he played it and it was giving him headaches because of the whole camera motion. So he had to move to
With the motion blur.
When I was in academia, but I didn't really have any problems anywhere else.
Well, it didn't really bother me that much because one thing keeps coming to my head every time I play the game, which was it's a PSP port, and the PSP only had one analog stick, and I think the camera was with the directional buttons with that version. So
yeah, it was.
Yeah, so I tend not to use the right stick as much, so I can still keep in the spirit that I'm playing a PSP game. And if
I don't do that.
yeah, so if I am But if like in really like emergencies, if there's an enemy somewhere that really had to defeat, but it's slightly off the camera angle, I'll use the right stick then. But apart from that, I tend not to use it.
I didn't notice it at all. Like, it didn't bother me whatsoever. I just thought, yeah, okay.
Yeah, and well, what I said with the previous comment, I did Type-0 first, then the demo, so yeah, it didn't really bother me that much with the camera.
Oh yeah, I did that as well.
Cool. I know that when I've played Type-0 previously, I did it on PSP with the Japanese release, and going into it, I was like, okay, they've got a dual stick camera. This will be fine. I just went out like, this is really bad for me anyway. It just took me about an hour and a half to get used to it. I don't know. I'm used to it now, but it was very much like, just could not understand why they made it. Oh, they didn't even make it a option to turn down the sensitivity.
Yeah, that was
that really baffled me about it.
I think I got used to it quickly because I used Queen, who's a fast-paced character anyway. So I kind of got used to the running around in speeds with the camera following. So.
Right.
Hello.
Hello.
Okay, Sunny will know.
Late. Sorry.
That's okay. We've only just started, Sunil.
Cool.
We had a quick talk about the party system.
Okay.
If we just revisit that, just to add you into the loop. How did you feel the management of 14 characters was?
Okay, so I think I started the first 2 hours of the game. I basically just went into training and used everyone for about maybe 15 minutes each, something like that. Just got to grips with everyone. I found my favorites pretty quickly though. Didn't spend too long.
Yeah, I think that was everyone's saying they've just kind of found their favorite three, and it's like they've pushed everyone else aside. But other than that, we were just saying about the camera.
Oh, okay.
And did that affect you in any way? Like,
So I've been reading a lot about this recently, the last few weeks ago, and when I play the game, you're looking at enemies, so say a flan, and what I will do is I will focus my eyes on the flan because I want to hit the kill strike on it. So I spend so long looking at the flan, and I'll try and run back and forth in front of it because I don't know if you notice, they do a little jiggle, and then they try and sort of jump into you, they lunge at you, and if you can flank them just as they lunge, you get a free kill. So because my eyes are so focused on the monster, I don't really notice the camera blur at all. Does that make sense? So I don't know. It's obviously not ideal, but when I'm playing it, I don't really notice it.
Yeah, I didn't notice it at all in battles.
I think I noticed it when you're in academia and towns.
Yeah.
More than in battle, definitely. And it could have been turned down. There's no real reason for it to be so high. I didn't work out why it's so high.
That's a different approach. I'll have to try that myself. Cool. So if we go into some of the story stuff now, got the basic party and camera stuff. Obviously, the big thing we see at the beginning, and within the first kind of 20 minutes, really, we see the Lassie, a part of this game. What do you think of the Lassie being in this, and the comparison links to 13? Obviously, the Lassie being part of the Fabula Nova Crystallis kind of lore. What do you think of them being more battle trained? Yeah, compared to them being they've not done their focus.
Compared to the 13 ones, they seem so much more powerful.
Yes.
Yeah.
And in 13, they can just do a bit of magic, and I guess in Lightning Returns it's a bit better, but they still just kind of seem like they're one-on-one type fighters. Whereas in this, they're just I'm just gonna kill a couple 100,000.
Yeah, with 13, they all get chosen from a fallacy. Which I'm guessing in this game is the Chameleon Bird Crystal and all the rest of the Four Nations crystals.
it's the crystal.
Kind of weird. I think the crystals are pseudo fallacy in this.
Yep.
And there's only one compared to in 13 is the whole of your cast, or the whole cast in that game gets turned into a fallacy, which in this case it's only one, and like you said, they're ridiculously powerful.
Whereas a couple, because you got like each one's got like a scene and like a prime and
There's this, there's a white tiger prime with spell C, which is I think it's their own. I think it's just their name of it, and the fact that they can transfer their power.
yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, like I found it was a lot, like they seemed more interesting in a way. Like going back to 13 when you saw Sid change, and he was like, oh, okay, that was that, and like the only kind of Lucia I really cared about across the 13 series was Snow because he had a bit more of a story. But these ones, they seem like they've got a bit more kind of depth to them, in like they're trained.
Like they had to carry the mantle for like decades, and it's really worn on them.
Yeah, which is it just seems like a bit more like, even though the game isn't as a high production value, there's certain things like the Sea that they seem to have put more effort into.
And there's no like they don't. There's no. I don't know if when Type-0 came out compared to 13 on PSP, but there's no mention of like them turned into Thieves as well. So it's like that. They either stay in the sea forever.
Yeah, because Kunmi's just like she just doesn't really seem to care about doing her focus.
No, I know it does. It does mention about if they complete their focus, they go into the crystal slumber. But yeah, it's never said about if they fail it or don't do it. They just.
I think it just wasn't mentioned, was it?
No.
I don't think it's all like set in the same universe per se. I know they all like follow the same lore, but you could see it as like more of a parallel structure, like parallel universes. So, in the case of Type-0, there couldn't be such a thing as a thief when it comes to not completing your focus. Whereas the 13, set in that particular world, is set two different worlds technically. There is such a thing as a thief, but if it's not mentioned that early on in Type-0, I don't think there would be any at all. So it might be just parallel worlds, but that's just my theory.
Yeah. But an interesting take on it.
It's the same with 15. You didn't hear anything about that in the demo.
No. I think if we heard story stuff, it would have that would have been a big, like, I can't even think of
News travels fast.
Yeah.
According to Wiki, the source of more knowledge, that Seeks are mentioned in Type-0.
Yeah.
Yeah, apparently.
Are we just talking about chapters 1 and 2 today?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I didn't want to say anything. Yeah.
I'm just going from the things that are shown in
Yeah.
the first two.
I finished the game. I didn't even realise. So.
Same, yeah.
Apparently, it's mentioned towards the beginning, so it's not a spoiler per se.
Okay.
I'll have to play through it and find that reference somewhere.
Yeah, that's the thing now. That's the homework. Go and find the reference. Yeah, so hang on, I've got to pull up my for the story. So another thing that I found with the game, I don't know if you had the issue, but the general difficulty of it. Obviously, you had the different difficulties you could choose for what it could be, but how did you feel like normal difficulty compared to other Final Fantasies? And do you think because it's got a more mature setting, it seemed like a tougher game, or did you feel it just?
I think Officer was fine. I mean, I only ever done Cadet if I wanted to do a mission again on really easy mode, but it seemed fine. I mean, missions do ramp up in level, but that's just general throughout the game. But I do like the ability that if you want to, you can add 30 levels to every single enemy in the game. And which makes
50.
or 50 if you complete the game once and have everything at rage. But yeah,
Yeah, I didn't see it that hard at all. Being it's a medium difficulty, if you have experience previously with action games or RPGs or the like, it shouldn't be that much of a problem. But if you're a novice, if you have played any Final Fantasy or any other action game whatsoever, then yeah, you would go to Cadet because you're on a clean slate pretty much.
yeah.
Because I'm playing, I think I'm playing Officer, and there's certain things sometimes like that hit so hard, and it's like there's part of me is like, shall I tone down difficulty? But that could be a sense that I've just using the wrong party members. But for me, it's like, yeah, that sometimes is a bit hard.
The levels can make a noticeable difference. Like if you just level up 5 levels, then that can make a significant impact on how well you perform.
Okay. Saying about the obviously the difficulty and it being a mature game. What do you guys think of the game being a more mature Final Fantasy? Obviously, like within the first 2 minutes, we see something that isn't ever seen in a Final Fantasy game, like the whole kind of the battle chocobos that are.
It's a harsh
very
beginning.
much. Yeah, it was harsh. So what do you guys think of that? Like that kind of move away from it being all happy and joyful and being this quite gritty Final Fantasy.
Being a spin-off, I see that makes sense. I mean, a lot of fans, a lot of today's fans anyway, started along with 7, and they must have been. I started with 8 personally, and I was about 6 years old when I first picked that up. And I'm pretty sure a lot of us, or a lot of every other fan around the world, has been around the same path, has followed the same tread, and they would. And I'm pretty sure along that time they'll be thinking, what if it's a lot more mature setting? They'll be playing a lot more mature games like Resident Evil, Silent Hill, Metal Gear Solid, blah blah blah. And they must have come up with this result. And if it was too much of a controversy to detail that act of violence, they could always tone it down, but they didn't. And the majority of the fans seems to be pretty pleased with it. So if they're fine with it, so am I.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of, when you start the game, you see the person going into academia basically, and eventually you see him basically being left to die. Basically, but it kind of sets. I do like the fact they've done that. It kind of sets the tone that the world is at war with each other. They are all trying to gain power of basically the Militesi Empire, or trying to take over Raban for its crystal.
That and the fact that if you if Ace and this character in question with the Chocobo had any relation in the past, Ace doesn't know a thing, because if they do die, they'll forget about it.
Yeah, that was interesting when that came up in the stories, that when they die, it is completely forget about them. It's like you can't.
Yeah, it could affect your battle performance, and you see that with loads of other war stories in the past. That like someone can't do a specific action because it makes them think of something else, or that affects someone else's life, or so on and so forth. So, I can see when it comes to gameplay, no matter who dies in like NPC, who dies, it like has a close connection to the character, they still carry on like they always were because they can't remember a thing about them.
I do wonder how that worked though, because like when do they forget? Is it when they lose eye contact with them or something?
Yeah, that is a valid point. I don't know. I would assume they kind of like have a debriefing area, and it's kind of like Men in Black style. Like they just forget. They come in with this.
They do have checkups with the doctor every so often, so that's probably what happens.
But it's everyone in the world though, isn't it? It's not just them.
That's true, actually. Yeah, so it might be.
It was mentioned that when they die, the crystal like relieves the memory of them.
Okay.
Yeah, like they have knowing tags as well, so they can leave them experiences behind in the cemetery.
Oh, that's cool.
But it might be explained further on in the game. But if I haven't completed, I'm only up to like chapter 5, so I don't know yet. But I hope they do.
Yeah, so, and I think what happens in chapter 1. The woman.
Chapter 1 ends with. It's literally that first mission when you're taking back Raban.
Oh, that's it. That was what I was going to go into. There's a lot of different styles. Like, obviously the game's more action-based, but what did you guys think of the kind of real-time strategy style of retaking the cities and then going in to invade them? Like, did you think that kind of added to it, or was it just like a side thing that was quite nice?
I
really
liked
were.
because basically at the start of the game, the Murtassi Empire has taken basically all of Raban up to where Academia is, and instead of just like a story where you do like a side thing and then all of a sudden you've regained your nation, you actually are physically taking them back town by town,
Mhm.
and start pushing the enemy out of your borders, which I really liked.
Yeah, like I didn't even remember it from the PSP one. I came back and I was like, oh yeah, that was in there. I forget that. Like, there's so much that happens in that game that I just completely forgot about the real-time strategy stuff. And yeah, I going back to, I was like, yeah, that kind of added. I would have liked to have seen that in like previous Final Fantasies, but like with FF8 and having the Galbadians, that would have been a nice thing to have. So it's
like a mission that comes up later in Act 2.
Didn't it do something similar in Final Fantasy 7 with Mount Condor when you get the Supreme Materia?
Oh yeah,
The mini game, that was fun.
I would just like to let you a bit more control. It seemed pretty limited with what you could actually do. It's like you can only control certain domains when you take them over. They won't give you control straight away. And if you want to change who attacks where, you've got to physically run there to tell them.
I do like it that RTS mission kind of starts like it kind of like gradually tells you like you're starting off in that town that's basically just outside of the
Yeah.
and then you have to like capture domain and spread out towards the other places, and it kind of shows you what to do before you see later ones in the game.
Does anyone know what would happen if you have the chance to invade the town, but you don't, and the your units just keep destroying it? I don't know what happens if you do. Just leave it.
They just keep.
Yeah, it goes down to like 1 hit point, but you're just constantly told you have to go in.
Yeah.
So the actual town HP is 0, but it still keeps there if you haven't invaded it yet.
Yeah, it'll just stay there.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
It's like, you will go in here. You will invade.
So I've been asking a lot of questions. I just want to pass it over to you guys, whether anyone wants to ask or talk about anything that they feel would come up.
I've got a question. Bearing in mind that we're interviewing all the voice cast, what do you think of the voice acting?
I really like it.
I
love
don't
the
know
voice
why
acting.
everyone keeps saying that it's terrible. I was watching a video from Alpha Omega Sin. I don't know if anyone follows him on YouTube, but it was talking about his opinions on the Type-0 demo and the Type-0 demo. What am I saying? Fifth demo and the Type-0 game. And I remember him saying that it was laughably bad, but I think he only concerns to someone like Keita, who's like very monotone, and she sounds like she's constantly high.
Yeah.
And
Sounds like that in real life as well. She's so cute.
oh
She's
my
so
god, she
cute.
does not. But I think I know he hasn't completed the game because I'm friends with him on the PSN and I've seen his trophies. He hasn't completed it, but I think he only shows those scenes and he's like looking at a first impression. But a lot of Markina's voice acting and Ace's are very, very good for a Final Fantasy game anyway. And yeah, there are very few characters that speak very monotone, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree as well.
My issue was kind of pronunciation of names, because they'll change, like different characters will say them in different ways.
Kurosame is a huge one because there's people who call him Kurosame and then there's some people who call him Kurasame.
And before I even hear some of the main characters' names being pronounced, I studied French a few years ago, and I look at Keita and I keep thinking quatre, which means 4. And cinq, I think of cinq, which means 5. You see where I'm going with this? Six, so on and so forth.
Yeah,
That's throwing you off.
It's throwing me off really bad.
I do like that they all have different voices. They all have their own personalities. They're not just like born to be. They're not just like molded to be this like super like soldier that's in like a special unit, but they all have their own like she kind of ditzy kind of speed. So and then you got Queen, who's she's kind of like how to
Chrissy?
yeah she
She is a teacher's pet.
yeah basically.
Yeah,
really
I think I love that as well.
I do love Nine's way Nine talks.
Arroyo
Oh,
Nakaba. You know he's Apollo Justice.
I love Nine.
Mm.
I just love how he reminds me of Snow in a
Mhm.
way. Like he's very brutish and just kind of thinks with his fists, but fear. I love that kind of that scene with what's his name
In the library.
Quan,
in the
or whatever his name is. Is it Quan?
Yeah, Quan.
yeah. That was very cool.
Yeah.
I
And yeah,
hate Jack's voice act. I hate Jack's acting. He is so cocky. Every time I hear him speak, even though he's very serious, he still sounds like he's telling a joke. It's cringeworthy.
I feel like he's one of the only ones where the voice didn't really suit the book. Really good.
I assume you guys are all talking about the English voice acting, aren't you?
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
talking about the English ones, yeah.
Yeah.
I know the Japanese
I've
ones.
skipped it completely, so I have nothing to say.
Aw.
cool. Is there anyone else who wants to bring anything up? That was a nice thing with the voice acting. Or do you
I
want
think
me
I just like that that like what we were sort of saying before about the layers of the characters. There's nobody who's like of the women. I mean, like of course from me like being from the female perspective. I like that there's not one of them that's pathetic. Like even Rem, like I mean, she has a lot of like sort of stuff she's dealing with. I won't spoil anything, but like she has a lot of stuff she's dealing with. But she never once seems pathetic or like a damsel or like I really think that that's a testament to Square Enix and how they write female characters. They really do well with them.
Yeah, and I think it's the same with quantity as well as quality as well, because there isn't like a balance, like an overbalance between male and female playable characters.
50, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I can't see any reason why any other feminist group would be trying to fight on it, because there's like less female characters than there are male characters.
They're all wearing
Because
skirts.
Yeah.
realistically, they're not.
thin.
I mean, and when it comes to appearances, I'm not really going to be discussing, but right now I'm talking about like the overall balance between the number of female and male characters in Class 0. I do find it to be evenly matched, because when I first heard about the game, I'm thinking, are there going to be like so many of that and so many of this? But it turns out they really evened it out very well.
Yeah, they haven't like going back to the like strong the way the female characters are done. I'm a big advocate on strong female characters in any game. I like how a lot of games are doing it now, and like starting that trend with, I think Lightning's probably the most famous Final Fantasy one now. She is that kind of portrayed as the kind of big female lead for Final Fantasy, and this one has it as well. Like going back to Rem, I've just started the storyline with her and the kind of the way that she's dealing with her stuff, and it is that kind of thing where she's not going to sit down and let the men take control of it. Like she wants to go and fight, and I think that was really well written, and it's something that this game again, it just shows how much like more evolved as a gaming series it's become.
Definitely.
I'm just glad it didn't show up in the gameplay when it comes to Rem's goings on, as well as daggers in 9 or Garnet's. Like when she's numb, she like at that stage of the game when she can't speak, she pretty much you try to get her to do certain actions in battle, but she won't do half of them.
Oh, she's useless at that point.
I'm just glad they didn't carry that on with Rem and her gameplay. You can just look at the battle footage and you're thinking she's hiding it very well.
Yeah.
Cool. So, there any points of the story that you guys wanted to touch on within the first two chapters? I know there's not a lot that's kind of shown.
Not really, no.
But
How do you guys feel about academia and how you get around?
yeah, that was really fun actually. I like that kind of, you could just go and explore. Like I found the kind of the time in academia and that kind of until mission time felt very much like Persona.
Yes.
And and that is another thing. Like it just added so much to me because I'm a huge fan of the Persona series. And as soon as it was like you've got time to do stuff now, it's like, oh cool, I can go and find these. I would have liked it to be a bit more open, so you could actually. I suppose if they added the social links, it would have been too much towards what a Atlas game is. But I would have liked that kind of, you can build up your relationships. Let's not just go around talking to people. But as a whole, I love the kind of the exploration and being able to do different things.
To a degree.
Mm.
Like the more you talk with people, the more depth you get with regards to their story.
Yeah.
You can see why Square Enix is now publishers for Persona 4. Because they're trying to think to themselves, what can we do to make it better? Let's whip off everything from Persona 4.
With like walking around academia, it's like I don't mind the teleporting because it's basically that one bit. They could have like had corridors to go to these places.
Yeah.
That just seemed lazy to me. Like
I think that was
go through 2 corridors to get from the main hall to the classroom.
that was probably more of like a limitation. Because obviously being a PSP thing, they just used it as different zones.
And like portals as well.
And
I felt really daunted at first when I first stepped into academia before it was liberated. I was like, where do I go? What do I do? How do I do this? But I felt really easy when I found out that the portals aren't shortcuts. You have to use it to access specific rooms. Because at first I thought they were shortcuts. I thought, this is going to be huge. But no, it turns out it really wasn't.
And also the fact that you can see 13 other classrooms, portals, but you can't actually go into them.
That's a shame, yeah.
Almost like you can at some point.
Yeah,
Why would they be there?
Yeah, because they could, when you try and go in there, like you can't access them at this time.
Yeah, it's against the rules. But yeah, I was like, if it's against the rules, why would you program it?
Unless if it was something with the was it something with the multiplayer?
It may have been because that was in it, wasn't it? So that's one actually. What do you guys think it would have been?
Sorry, that's why I was just like thinking. I was just like, maybe that was like part of the multiplayer element.
I was really impressed with how they transitioned.
Is there a multiplayer element?
There wasn't a PSP.
It's sort of there, but it's kind of when you go into a mission, you get this thing called SP support.
And
a random basically a random player will come in like from that has all of the
a random Square Enix staff member.
I did find that quite cute.
It's like I'm just playing there during like the first couple of missions. And I'm like, oh look, it's Tabata-san.
But I do there's like some things you can do with sometimes you can use the like SP things that you do the whole mission for you, so you can get like a ridiculous amount of SP. But it would be also fun if you could have your mates from your PSN list to join you in the game.
Yeah.
To go through missions, like want to do something like slightly higher difficulties, or
I'm just check it out. But I liked what they this SP system that they replaced it with. Like
Yeah.
It's not natural.
The AI. I think if it's SP or not, the AI in some cases, especially with long range, it can be absolutely crap.
Yeah. They fire like they don't do anything.
Yeah, I remember in chapter 2, there was one I can't remember the name of the town, but it's near the end before you do the big boss. you're at the entrance to this castle, and there was like in the upper balcony there were like a few gunmen that trying to gun you down. But my character was not a long range character at the time, and all of my slots were taken by SP characters. Even though they were long range, they were like hugging the wall and trying to shoot them, and all of them was like hitting the wall and couldn't and keep missing it. So I had to wait for 5 minutes for the SP character to dissolve, have someone like King to come back. I can take control and finish them off.
Yeah, I've had that situation. Like, this is a thing, and later in the game, I won't say anything much about it, but I had to get this item on the floor, and they just wouldn't. It was so many enemies just keep spawning, and it was really annoying. And the only way I could hit them at the top was to like charge my thunder spell to the maximum to reach it.
And it was too long range for any magic spells either, so that really annoyed me. You had to use a gun or something.
Yeah, that's why you use like Cater and Trey.
And the King, yeah.
That'll be good to know for me. That just uses melee characters.
Yeah.
I'll have to switch to that.
It doesn't come. It's not all the time, but certain missions, kind of like the mission near the end of 2, for example, you see stuff. Like I played it earlier. I saw a captain character I've not seen before because he was up on the hill.
And the fact that the final boss is always hovering as well.
Oh, that final boss at the end of chapter 2. Oh my god, he moves so quickly.
Yeah.
That was tough.
I didn't have that much problem with it. Weirdly, I did it in first try.
Yeah, it took me, I think, 3 times. But again, I was using 8, 9, and 7. So literally every time everything was moving around, the camera was just going mad. Like locking on, trying to get in close to it was just tough for me.
I think I went through almost all my characters to try and defeat that thing in the end.
So did I, yeah. But I still did it in first try, so it still counts. I didn't actually do it. So you see a game over screen.
There is one thing with like combat I see in this game, especially against like the MA units. Is thunder is just thunder is the spell to use for most of it because it just one shots it or does like a whole health bar. Especially it seemed sometimes fantasy made it seem a bit too easy because you automatically go to it because it's a mechanical unit.
Yeah. Right. What I'm gonna have to do, guys, is we've got like a raid going on in Final Fantasy, so I have to drop out. But as people go mad. But thanks for. Sorry, it's a bit short today, but I'm gonna hopefully next week we'll have more to talk about, having more chapters and
Final chapters
more.
next.
Yeah, the chapters 3 and 4 probably are going to open up a bit more and have a bit more to talk about. So it'll probably be either this Sunday or in the week. I want to do them on the Sundays just due to work that we didn't do it this week. But if you guys are all good for the Sundays, we'll do it in the evening, about 8:30.
Yeah,
roughly
I should be free for about like at any night around 6 o'clock onwards. So
okay.
yeah, any time after that should be alright with me.
Yeah, so that'll be the plan. What I'm gonna try and do is have some more topics for the coming weeks. But if you want, bring your own questions, bring your own topics, and we can kind of go into them and segue into them as we get to certain bits of the talks. Yeah. And then we can just go from there really. But again, thanks for coming along. And
so like this one, is there like we can only talk about a specific part of the game, or is it like no holds barred?
Chapters 3 and
yeah, so next week will be chapters 3 and 4, and what happens within those, or what happens before, what after, if we've missed anything today. Obviously, as we go on, we're going to be able to talk about more. And the last week there'll be no limit on what we've talked about, because obviously
because we've gone through everything else.
Yeah, we'll go from there, and then we'll see how we go, and trying to work out kinks as I go.
Chapter 3 has some interesting things to talk about, especially with the boss that two things that will come up at the end of the second mission, which define the difficulty, the differences in playthroughs.
Yeah, that's cool. That'll be some good things to talk about then. So again, thanks for coming.
Thanks
if
for
you
having
guys
us.
want,
Yes, thanks for having us.
Yeah,
no, that's not a problem. If you guys want, obviously you can stay and you guys can chat about stuff, and I may be back depending on how things go. But for the time being, I'll be backing out. If I don't come back, I will speak to you guys on the event page about the coming topics.
we'll be using this page to get this.
Yeah, I think this is probably the best way to do things. Like, thank you to Sunil for setting this up, because
Yay.
it's just so much easier than trying to work around Skype.
Yeah.
I never
So-
knew about this site before today.
I know,
so,
me either.
Yeah, I
No.
discovered it last night. It's pretty cool.
It will
So
help me a
we'll-
lot with my online Cards Against Humanity games.
Yeah, it'll probably be a good idea to do, because what I want to do is create this kind of games club for coming Final Fantasies as well. So not just 2 Type-0, but when the 14 expansion releases, we could talk about that, or even with Record Keeper that's just released on iOS, do some
Got
talk
a
about
current
that.
Thank God!
Literally, like, we could do anything. If you guys want to talk about a different game, feel free to put it in the event page. We can set something up.
I think
yeah, we'll just-
Heaven's
we'll
Ward would be a good week.
Heavens, oh my god, that's going to be big. but if
I
there's
don't
anything,
think I'm going to get it at launch because I'm really behind on my on 14. I finished the main scenario, but I still didn't do the whole Bahamut thing yet. I'm not even close to it, so I might not get it at launch. I'll get it eventually.
But obviously, yeah, like I said, if there's anything that you guys want to talk about, just either message me or put it in the event page. We can sort it out. We can have a talk about that. And yeah, it's literally just going to be a chat room where we can just talk everything awesome about Final Fantasy and Square Enix, really.
Yay!
So yeah, I
Sounds
will
good.
catch you guys in the UK fans page and the event page and online and wherever else in the ether. But I will speak to you guys about Type-0 next week on Sunday.
The raid.
Yeah.